So today I want to do a guide on how to set up your Slow N Sear, both for low and slow indirect cooking and of course for searing, hence the name, on the Weber Summit Kamado. The Slow N Sear is a fantastic tool that, all Weber kettle grill owners are very familiar with. And it's not that hard. I'll give you guys some tips and tricks along the way. Let's dive in. So I already kind of have the grill already set up because I was using it previously. By the way, I'm going to be using the Easy Spin grates and of course the Slow N Sear. If you haven't seen my original review on those two products, I'll put a link in the description of this video. Now the thing that I am curious about is, can you put the Slow N Sear in the low setting, right? The Weber Summit Kamado has a low and slow setting and then a sear setting. So let's open it up and let's get started. All right, so for those of you that are asking, no, you cannot use the Slow N Sear in the low setting, right? The Summit Kamado tapers down. But hey, it's a good question to ask, and now we know. A couple things that I wanted to point out. I do have old charcoal here. I'm gonna use the old charcoal. It's actually briquettes by Jealous Devil. Use whatever you want, right? New charcoal, old charcoal, lump, briquettes, whatever makes sense for you. It really doesn't matter. It's really preference, right? Ribs aren't too tricky. We're gonna be smoking some ribs today. They're about 5 to 6 hours or so. So it's not necessarily like down to the science of things for this particular case today. This is just a simple demonstration. Honestly, the old charcoal that I have here is probably gonna be more than enough for the next 5 to 6 hours. The Weber Summit Kamado is extremely efficient. It really, really is. You'll be really surprised just how efficient it is. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to add more charcoal just to demonstrate how to set it up. So please keep that in mind. It's something that you're just gonna have to learn as you get more familiar with your grill. Okay, so here is the old charcoal that I have. There's some smaller bits that I'm gonna keep off to the side. I'm gonna keep the larger bits up here. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a pocket. I'm gonna light this area here, a small section, because we want to slowly burn everything, right? And then we'll add our water. Make sure your tray is clean. But we'll go ahead and add our water in. And that's gonna help us tremendously to control the temperatures. So start off with a little area, whatever you want, right? I recommend the corners, don't go straight in the middle. And then we're also gonna use wood and we're gonna kind of, place them in different areas, right? I'll show you that setup in just a little bit. So of course we need to talk about how do you light your charcoal, right? That little small section for low and slow. There's many different ways to light it, okay? I have a couple examples here. You can go the fancy way or you can go the simplistic way. I've seen people like throw newspaper in there and they'll light it that way. I don't recommend that because the newspaper just creates a lot of bad smoke, but these are my 3 favorite ways. Since I'm only lighting a small section, you can really keep it simple. Now, you can use fire starters, right? You can create your own. I have my own, I've created my own. It's very, very budget friendly. It costs under $3 the first time you do it and then under like $2 to just keep replenishing it. Have a video on that. I'll link it below. We're not going to talk about that. Of course, you can buy the store stuff. The Fogo Blazer Ball is a nice little gadget that you can use. Throw it in there to light your charcoal for low and slow. I've used this before. It's fine. Simply just putting some fire cubes or starters, whatever you prefer, in there, maybe like 2 of them, and surrounding the charcoal is good enough. But my favorite way of doing it is using a torch. Now, I found this is the torch that I used to use back in the day before I got the big old flamethrower that I have now. This actually is just fine, right? It burns extremely, extremely hot. It's a nice small flame. You can get really surgical with it if you wanted to. You don't have to. But this burns extremely hot. This is the Burnzomatic, right? The TS8000. This is really a tool that's used for like welding and things like that, but it's fantastic for barbecuing. So we're gonna use this today. Can you use a chimney starter? Absolutely. You can put some charcoal in a chimney starter, light that and dump it off to the corner, whatever you feel like doing, but this is really the fastest and funnest way. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a pocket off to the side. Now, ideally, if you don't have anything in here, that's probably better, so you don't have to work too much, but this is good enough for me right here. So we're gonna create that pocket right there. Again, if you're using just some starter cubes, you would put one inside and maybe one off to the right, maybe one in there, and light it, and that should get everything lit for you. We don't want a crazy amount of lit charcoal, right? If we light, you know, 4 of these, 5 of these, that's more than enough. Once you kind of have everything lit, now you are going to spread everything around. So I am just going to add a couple there. These are really tiny, but they're going to act like a good bridge, right? So we are going to add more charcoal right now. Okay, so we got the fire going. Now, obviously the next thing to do is add in your water, right? So I have my coffee chem mixer. I'm just going to use this today. I don't even know. I mean, this is like at least 7 or 8 cups, right? You may or may not need all that depending on what you're doing, but I like to wait until the fire is kind of going, right? I don't want to kill the kinetic energy that's happening right now. So it's pretty good right now. I can hear it. It's going. I'm going to go ahead and dump in the water. Just, you know, try not to spill, keep everything organized, and you should be good to go. Okay, so now it's time to add in our wood. I have 2 lumps of mesquite and 1 cherry, and I just kind of want to test this out today, but space it out. So I want some smoke initially, so I'll put a wood piece right there. I'm gonna want the cherry somewhere in the middle over here, and then just the last little bit of smoke at the end. This is pretty good for me. I'm pretty happy with this. So we're gonna let the smoke ignite and start that bad combustion process. Then we'll close everything down and get up to temperature now. Gonna go ahead and grab our easy spin grate, which always make sure you check for clearance. So this one needs to be kind of pushed in a little bit. Here's our easy spin grate. Everything's working just fine. This grate is specifically made for the Slow N Sear, so you can get easy access, add in more wood and all that good stuff. So should we put the meat on? No, not yet. So I'm sure you guys can tell behind me, there's a lot of smoke coming out. This is not the good smoke that I want to see quite yet. So we're going to wait until we start getting thinner smoke. This is combustion smoke, but we are very close and I can smell the wood burning. So I think a lot of it right now is the wood. It's just combustion, right? You can always do it outside of the grill and then throw the wood pieces in. That's a very good way of smoking, but we're just going to let the grill take care of everything right now. All of my vents are completely open. So if you're wondering what my vent settings are, the bottom is completely open, the top is completely open. We want to get past the operating temperature, about 250 degrees, because I want to smoke at 220, at least starting, right, at 220. And then once we close everything up, we'll lock everything down. You'll see it'll be rock steady. And then if I want to adjust, this grill feels like a gas grill. It literally feels like there's a knob on there. You can easily go up and down by just playing with the vents. But usually I keep the bottom vent locked on the smoke setting, and then the top vent is where I kind of fine tune things. So let's kind of talk about placing your food. So depending on what you're cooking, right, just make sure that you think logically. So I'm doing beef ribs right now. I'm gonna place the thinner pieces further away from the fire. The thicker pieces, the larger pieces, really the thicker pieces that can handle it, they're gonna be closer to the fire, right? And then make sure you just kind of space things out a bit. You don't want everything too crowded, just like in a pan when you're cooking inside on cast iron or stainless steel or whatever. If you overcrowd things, there's too much moisture, right? Surface temperature is very important. When you're using the Slow N Sear, you do lose half of the grill. So if you're gonna be doing a lot of cooking, that's personally where I switch over to the diffuser plate. The diffuser plate allows you to use the entire surface of the grill. So if I was gonna do more ribs for a larger party, I would be definitely using the diffuser plate. I've done an entire video on wood, a guide to good, a beginner's guide to wood, different ways to pair it, what pairs good with different types of meats, and really the science behind the combustion process. What's good smoke, what's bad smoke, things like that. I'll put a link in the description of this video. You can deep dive and watch that. I think it's definitely worth it. But today, we're just gonna keep things simple. This is more than enough. If you want more smoke, add more. So we're about, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes in. And I always like to check on things early on to make sure it's going according to plan, just in case something disastrous is happening. So let's check out these ribs. Let's see how they're doing. So another tip, make sure you guys have something to monitor your cook. This is a wireless meat thermometer by Thermomaven. It's a budget-friendly alternative to Typhus Sync. Great wireless meat thermometer. It has Wi-Fi. I don't want to babysit this thing. I have things to do all day, right? This is a thin probe, right? They offer 2 different models. Basically, you just have one that has a higher ambient sensor tolerance, so you can sear with the probe still left inside, just higher setting. You can still do that with this one. I think it has like a 575 degrees or 600 degrees tolerance. The other one is closer to 1,000, but we're just doing beef ribs today. I've done a review on several different thermometers, like the best ones, right? The top ones out there right now. I'll put a link in the description of this video. You guys can check it out for yourselves. This is a budget-friendly alternative, so it didn't make it in that video, but maybe I'll do a budget-friendly version of that. Something I did want to like point out to everybody, when you have wood in there and the wood's catching fire, or it is, you know, in the smoking process, anytime you lift up the lid and leave it open for too long, you're gonna get a flame, right? It's gonna combust on you. So you gotta remember, it's at low and slow. The combustion process is happening very gentle, and the smoke, the blue smoke, the good smoke's happening naturally. So as soon as you let in a lot of air, you rush in a lot of air, boom, combustion happens again. And then the temperatures can go up. That's why it's so important when you're doing low and slow not to open up the lid too often, right? You want to keep the temperature controlled. You want to keep the airflow controlled, and you just want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best odds possible, right? So it will ruin a cook. But if you're doing this at home, that's why you have a wireless meat thermometer. If everything looks right, just leave it alone. So that went really well. The ribs came out perfect, and it was the perfect example for low and slow, just smoking all the way through. But this time I want to utilize, what does it look like when you're doing low and slow and then you want to convert to searing? So we're going to utilize the charcoal. There's still plenty of energy left. We're going to cook up some chicken breast. We'll mix up the charcoal, bring the temperatures up, open up the hood, bring the temperatures roaring hot, and get a nice sear on the chicken breast, getting a nice crust. So that's basically it, guys. I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, please consider subscribing and joining our channel memberships. I'll catch you on the next video.